and do some ground cover. New format, just rough video. Save me from editing. Not being lazy, but it's a little more efficient. Let's get right to the point. I use this cheap craft paint that a lot of you probably use, and I painted the road. It's done with spackling compound, nothing fancy. Got a little brown on there. Then I just paint that with same kind of stuff, just like a dark gray. And you can dirty it up with pigments and whatever. And then what I'm going to do before I ballast is I always like to make sure the ground cover is done right up to the track, and then the ballast kind of spills over that. So I overpaint the road. I'm going to touch that up anyway because apparently I've got brown on my brush, but nothing fancy. Just use a small brush and cut in right up to the edge of the concrete. Put on heavy because I'm gonna go over it with glue, white glue, and then put some sort of ground cover over it. But yeah, this is it. So if you like watching painting ASMR, here's the video. If you don't like it, tell me in the comments. And go watch another channel. Kidding. Yeah, just paint red. I already had ground cover here, but I had to redo the road because I put in one of these Caboose Industries. I gave in and I tried a Caboose Industries manual throw. It works pretty good. It's just a little big for the scale. But because it sticks out, I had to cut the road in a little bit more. And so, yeah, if you already have ground cover, to paint over it and just put more ground cover over it doesn't matter, because just like the real world, you got layers of dirt and grass on top of old dirt and grass. Actually gives it a more real look, in my opinion, because it gives it a bit more three-dimensional texture. So at this end, below the camera here, is turning into a dirt road. So the paved road turns off the layout, and then a dirt road runs along the rail yard, and it comes off the paved road. So I'll show you that in a second. And I just use dirt. I just go outside and find the darkest dirt I can, and then I filter it through a screen, like one of those kitchen sifting things. Works pretty good. The challenge with living in Florida is the dirt is pretty sandy, and it's hard to find dark, rich soil. So you got to kind of hunt for it. But you usually always end up with a little bit of sand in it. Maybe that's true elsewhere. I mean, growing up in New England, the dirt wasn't like that. The dirt was like black and rich, no sand, unless you were down by the ocean, I guess. Yeah, so there, get a nice clean edge there, and then I'm going to come back when that dries and just put Elmer's, regular old Elmer's school glue, and put some foam ground cover. I may do static grass, but static grass you can always add later, so I'll do the ballasting. First just the rough ground cover, then the ballasting, and I'll think about where I want static grass. This is why when I do utility poles, I put a nail in the end rather than drilling and sinking this whole thing into the baseboard. I just cut the head off of a little finishing nail, and I CA glue it into the bottom of. So all my poles are like that, so I can move it in cases like this. I got to paint, you pull it out. You know, when I'm all ready to string the lines, I'll actually put that nail all the way down into the pasteboard, which is Homosote, so it holds the nail pretty well. That's a good trick. Painting around these things gets a little tricky, but yeah, there's never any mistakes. Old Bob Ross. If you get some dirt on the concrete that's under the dwarf signal. It could look like there's dirt on the concrete. Kind of the more I get into the hobby, the less OCD I am, the more I'm open to letting mistakes kind of turn into something that you didn't expect. But this is to me, this is a relaxing part of the hobby. I just take my time on a Saturday. What I'll do, I'll get a smaller brush to get inside there. I just started really using small brushes and magnifying glasses. It's amazing what you can do when you can see, when you have a small brush. And I'll try to put the ground cover as close to the track as I can, because I like to have a little overlap. The ballast look like it's spilling over onto the grass. And if you paint over the road too far, you can always go back, hit it with the gray, which I'm going to have to do here. Good enough. I'm just going to go grab a small brush. I mean, these are really small, but it allows you to get in there without screwing up the detail parts that you don't want to paint. Just put it on heavy and that little brush will carry it. These bollards that you see, they're nails. They're finishing nails with the heads cut off. Painted with Testors yellow. If it's free, it's for me. I was adding up all the money I spent since I started this channel, and I don't have to tell you guys, this hobby is a little crazy sometimes. It's, shocking amount. So yeah, I gotta back off a little bit on the purchasing and focus on finishing and running trains. It's easy to get carried away though. Go to a train show or the hobby shop, or you see something online, or somebody tells you about something that they think is cool. Next thing you know, you get a mail call. See, stuff like this is nice just to take your time. You know, take a Saturday, take a Sunday. You don't have any work to do, just, I mean, cleanses the brain. Because you're just kind of relaxing. If you're not relaxing, stop, come back to it later. It should be relaxing. You don't want the hobby to not be relaxing. And sometimes that happens, you know, if you're in a rush to finish something, or you're frustrated the way something's coming out, just walk away from it. That's what I'm learning. I mean, I'm saying that because I'm guilty of it, but I'm learning to not do that. Because things tend to get broken, or excuse me, they get worse rather than get better if you get frustrated or stressed out. You know, you're working on putting in a DCC decoder, for example, and you get the wires in the wrong place, and you unsolder it and have difficulty soldering it back, and the more frustrated you get, the more damage you're gonna cause. Same with painting or anything else in the hobby. Definitely save it for a low stress day, or if you're stressed and you're using this to decompress and de-stress, it should be doing that. If not, come back to it. There, now we're all cut in. So that looks good. And then, I mean, it doesn't look good, but it's what I need to do. I'll go a little bit over too, just to get rid of the white that's there from the spackling. And then again, it'll be all covered with ground cover. Doesn't matter really what color brown you use. I just like to use a brown What is this? This is espresso. There's like a million different colors you can get it. Michael's Crafts or Walmart, whatever. It's just so that if you scrape the ground and the grass comes up, you don't see the homosote, which is kind of this whitish gray color. A little bit here. This will be covered anyway. What I'm doing here is going to be covered with ballast, but I like to have everything covered before I go and ballast or put grass. Just always be careful, obviously, if you're painting around your turnouts, you don't get the mechanism stuck with paint. I've done that. What else? I had to move this dwarf signal, so I got a little spot here. Little learnings with these dwarf signals is test the overhang of your cars, because I assumed I knew what I was doing there, and I CA glued them down, particularly this one. This is on a concrete riser because I have another signal head in front of it, the manual one, so I wanted it to, and it gives a little variation. But I didn't take my longest car, which is actually the Bud RDC rail car, and I was running it, and I looked over, and it was just stuck there because the overhang caught on here, so I had to move it over. And then that caused me to double check this, and sure enough, that had to be moved over a little bit. And oftentimes you don't have a lot of degrees of freedom. You got to get it just right between the two tracks, because you move it over too far, then the other track is a problem. And let me show you what else. Similar thing happened over here with this signal, which now has a guy working on it. It's a 2 inches on center between the tracks, so it doesn't give you a lot of room, but I had to play with that quite a bit to get it just so that it wouldn't hit my widest car. My widest car being the OTM tracker on the maintenance away gondola. So that works. You can do it. Just take some fidgeting. I raised it up so that the signal head and the platform are above the trains, so they don't get caught up in that. But yeah, I put a guy there climbing the ladder. Adds a little element of realism. I love signals. It's becoming a big part of my layout, just because it's fun. I mean, it's just one of those little subtle detail features that adds to the experience. So yeah, I got these two here, and the one that's green currently is telling this straight yard track that is clear, the turnout's not diverged, and the red here is telling the main line that the curved turnout up ahead is actually a line for the yard and not for the main. So when I turn the tortoise switch machine, they each flip over in the opposite directions, because actually I explained that wrong. This is red because that curved turnout is aligned to the main. This is green because it is the main, and it's saying the turnout's aligned to the main. When I flip it the other way, the tortoise machine aligns that curved turnout to these two yard tracks. So if you're on the main, it's telling you don't proceed. If you're in the yard, this curve up here is aligned to get you onto the main. This switch is it's got a signal here. It's hard to see it, but it's part of the Caboose Industries. You can get these with or without signal heads. So now this is the line. This is diverged to this second yard track, so you get a red. And if you're on this straight yard track, you wait till it's green, and you're clear to go. So you got a signal here, and then you got these two for the main curve. So again, I digress, but there's so much you can do with those things. You can get red, yellow, red, green. They're both Tomar. I just added a little styrene base on that one, and this is Caboose Industries. All right, so what I'll do next, and I'll do that in a separate video, is I just take a CA glue that's a little bit watered, not too much. I don't know, maybe 70-30 glue to water. If it's too thin, if you're using foam grass, it doesn't tend to really stick or hold. It's okay for the ballast. For the ballast, I'm going to do a 50-50 white glue to water with either a bit of alcohol or a bit of dish soap to break the surface tension. I'll do that for here. I'll add a little bit of dish soap. But yeah, with the ballast, you want it to kind of soak in there, so the 50-50 works, and it holds it pretty strong. But when I'm doing like turf ground cover, I'll tend to do a little heavier on the glue side. And yeah, so I'm gonna do that next, and then I think this is the last bit I have to do before I can ballast the yard. It's been a while. I mean, this extension's been built for, I don't know, 6 months or so. Let me just show you this, what I was talking about earlier. This is where I have a dirt road that, so the paved road just kind of continues off the layout, but this dirt road cuts off the paved road and it follows parallel to the track. So it's a service road. Right now you see a CSX truck, the small CSX logo there on the door, which you typically see in a yard. It'll be a service road. I'll add some static grass in that road so it looks like it's sort of used but not frequently. And then once this is all set up with grass, I'll take a little bit of glue, more watery glue, and then take some of this dirt and spread it into the pavement, so there's some tire tracks and it looks like the dirt's getting pulled onto the road. So there you have it. And then what ultimately is going to go here is the Interaction Hobbies kit, which is it's a mobile office. It'll be a yard office. Let me show it to you. And I've shown this on a prior video recently. It's I love their stuff. I've done the video on the taco truck, which is there. So this is what it looks like. It's a small footprint, so like you'd see in a modern rail yard, they'll just drop a mobile office there, and it'll be lighted. I'll put LEDs. It's got an interior detail kit, so you'll be able to see inside it, desks, lights. And it's only probably going to be about yay big. And then the reason this road is so wide is that this will be kind of where it sits, and there'll be parking on either side of it. And I'll probably put these concrete barriers so that this will be just a road that's passing by, and it's sort of paved wide so that it captures that building. And then that's why I have this pole here. So everything on my layout is powered, quote unquote. So I've got utility poles, and every building has power, being served by power. So there's going to be lines, excuse me, wiggle the camera, there's going to be lines running along the back, and then a line's going to cross the rails and connect to this, and there's a conduit that takes power down in the ground, and that ultimately comes up inside the little temporary office, or quasi-temporary. So that's it for ground cover so far. I'll come back when I'm actually putting the foliage down and the ballasting. Cheers.